Hello guys, so today we are going to prune this nectarine behind me, and I want to talk about a couple of things before we get into pruning. The Bible talks about pruning, and it talks about pruning in the sense that in pruning oneself spiritually. So what he's talking about is, you know how when you prune back a fruit tree or you prune back a grape or something like that, it actually becomes much more productive. And the reason is you're pruning off a lot of things that actually inhibit its growth. And so when we come to think of our lives spiritually, relationally, physically, trimming the fat physically, a lot of different things that we do in our lives can be represented within our gardens, such as pruning a tree. A lot of different characteristics that you might want to have or might have that are being inhibited because of other character traits or habits can be pruned so that you are able to grow more spiritually, you're able to grow physically, you're able to grow mentally, you're able to grow relationally with everything in your life. So doing these things like pruning, getting rid of some of the inhibitors, can actually promote growth. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. We're going to be talking about different character traits and different things that you can prune, and how you might want to prune your trees based on who you want to become in your garden. Kind of a cool concept, a little bit different, but I hope you enjoy. And I'm going to prune this up, and I might have to do a voiceover because I don't have a mic yet, and but you guys will get to see. Look at this big old beautiful nectarine tree. I mean, the thing's huge. And it has grown just out of control. And if you look here on the ground, I actually have branches that I had to cut back because they were impeding into my driveway and hitting the cars. So one of the character traits that you might think of that comes to mind there is you don't want to be too imposing on other people's lives. You don't want to be forceful into other people's space. You want to be courteous to others. So, you know what we do? We trim those things off. We prune those things off that make us not as courteous to others, that impose into other people's lives, like our pride. Pride is one of the worst things that we can possibly ever have in our life, but you need to give the credit to whom it deserves, which is God. It's not us. So, pride basically says, oh, I can do this without God. So we are going to look at this tree, and we are going to start pruning it, and we'll talk about it as we do. First and foremost, there's another tree just right over here, and just the character trait that we talked about. See this big old branch right here? We're going to cut that whole thing off because it's getting into that peach tree's space, and we want to keep it within a certain amount of space so that it's not imposing upon the other one and actually taking from its ability to thrive as well. That's one of the things that the Constitution talks about. So, first and foremost, you have to have the right tools to prune with. So what's the right tool to prune with in your life? The Bible. That is the number one pruning tool of all. The Bible will prune through you like crazy so that you can grow spiritually, physically, mentally, in every way possible that you think. Got a beautiful clean cut there. Now you see where we're going with everything. Now, another character trait that we like to have is openness. we want to have transparency in our life, especially in our relationships. You know, when you keep secrets and things away from each other. You know, some things are private, of course, with, you know, different individuals, but say in a relationship with somebody like your parents or a loved one, you want to have more transparency because it seems to always work out better that way. So we're going to open up. We're not only going to open up and have transparency in our lives, but we're going to open up our minds. We're going to open up our spirit. We're going to open up our things. And you know what? We're going to become a little bit vulnerable. And that's okay when it comes to God. God says, protect your heart. So, but he's saying protect your heart against evils. Open up to him. And that's what we're going to do right now. Now we're going to trim the fat. We're going to get rid of all the little things that just don't really matter in our lives, aren't really taking us anywhere. All the distractions. The distractions on this tree are all the little branches that are growing inward toward the middle that aren't going to allow us to be open as they grow and get bigger. They'll also impede on light coming in. Man, we want light in our lives, let me tell you. But we want a different kind of light in our lives. This tree, it wants sunlight. We want the light of God in our lives. So in order to have that light flow in, we need to open up that space in the middle. So now we have a really good open space. And we're just going to get rid of all those little things that are trying to seep into the middle. Those things that are trying to get into the middle. Those little tiny ones those little tiny branches that will grow eventually into something much larger. Just like the splinter in someone's eye that will eventually become a plank. We're going to get rid of all those little things that can eventually make a very big deal. So now in the center of that tree, it is very nice and open. Now as we look up into the tree, it seems like a lot of clutter. It's just a mess. So now we want to start thinking about the direction that we want to go with everything. You know, where do we want to be in our lives? What do we want to do? What direction do we want to grow? For me, I like to have a few directions to focus on at a time. Just like this tree, we have 1, 2, 3 main branches. That's 3 main branches to focus on and grow over time. I want to pick that direction for these 3 branches, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut off all the fat here. I'm going to pick the direction that I want to go in my life. I'm going to pick the direction for this tree and where I would like it to go. Now, this is key. I want to show you this. We'll get closer so you can see. If you want to pick a future direction, you have to look for areas that can grow in that direction. So say we wanted to cut this tree this branch right here. See these nodules right here? These are new growth directions for branches. So if we wanted to grow this way, or if we want it to grow this way, we'll cut it right above that one and it'll shoot off and start growing that way, whichever way it's pointed. See, that's how you choose a new direction for your tree. And that's how we choose a new direction for our lives. We examine ourselves, we examine where growth can be, we examine where growth is going, we examine how we can grow in that area. And then we trim anything around that so that we can laser focus on that growth. So that's what we're going to do now. So right here, we are going through and just trying to pick a good direction for these branches to go. How we want it to be shaped after it's opened up, just like we want to be opened up. And after, it's started to get those main branches that we want. Now we're going to pick a future direction for this tree, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going through and I'm looking for those spurs that are going to shoot off into branches, and I'm going to direct it for the future from there on out. Now, some of the other things that we didn't talk about were, you want this tree to be well rooted. Well, when you prune it during the right season, it digs its roots down and it stabilizes, it becomes stronger in the earth. And you know what? That's something that you want to be as well. You want to be well rooted in the Spirit. How do we become well rooted in the Spirit? You read the Word. You read the living Word of God. That is how you become well rooted in the Spirit. You spend time meditating and being with Jesus. We want to be fruitful in giving. You want your trees to be fruitful in giving. We want to be respectful and humble, and that's part of that, bringing those branches back and honing it all in, because we want to be humble and respectful of others, just like our tree needs to be humble and respectful of the other trees and other things around it. We want to be strong, and by cutting these back, you're going to produce stronger trunks, stronger branches, and a stronger, more well-sculpted tree. And you want to be well-sculpted too, I imagine. Does it look a lot different now? The tree doesn't even go outside of the picture anymore. But how amazing is this? You can prune this tree down and it will grow back with such vigor that it will produce so much fruit. And you cut it down to where you almost think it's gonna die. See, whenever my kids come home and they see that I pruned a tree, or they prune one with me, they ask me, why are we killing this plant, Dad? Why? Why did you kill our fruit tree? I said, no, I didn't kill it. I made it better. This tree is gonna produce a lot of fruit now. Now, are there times that you want to prune a tree versus other times? Well, of course. Just like there's a time and a place to prune yourself. There's a time and a place to get rid of things. There's a time and a place to be able to grow. And we must wait for those times. We must wait for those times in our seasons, and we must wait for those times in our lives. Those times where we can prune things up, and times where we can grow. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just remember to subscribe, like, share, and you see the shape starting to take place as we come around it. It's a beautiful shape. It's opened up. It's going to have so much growth this year. It's going to be amazing. So guys, remember to like, share, comment, add your points of view as well. I love conversation, but as well, go to Sacred Projects, donate $10, $5, $20 a month, whatever you have, so that we can teach people and children concepts like this, so that we can teach veterans the purpose within their life and how they can trim some things off and allow themselves to grow, so that we can teach communities to become resilient and within like a beautiful neighborhood just like this have an amazing abundance of growth and food. Guys, Sacred Projects, remember, all life is sacred. See you later.